It's me, Michael Kinnett, once again from iTernal Networks, and this is time for our weekly Friday afternoon live stream where we're going to be talking about the Russia-Ukraine conflict and your cyber safety. So just like in the past few weeks, we're looking to about 15 minutes, might go a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, but that's my goal. 15 minutes to spend talking to you about the latest in what's going on in the cyber warfare area of the conflict over there in Eastern Europe, as well as talk about some tips to share with you on your cyber safety and how to keep your business secure. And then we'll spend a few minutes at the end answering any questions that come up. So this has been a busy week. Well, if you've been following along anything that's been going on over there in Russia and Ukraine, there's been quite a bit on both sides. So earlier this week, there was a report that 18 of the meat processing companies in Russia were hit with some encrypting malware, likely from a vigilante or a hacktivist group attack. Nobody's taken claims for it yet, but that's one thing that's taken place. Yesterday, this is a big one. The hacker organization Anonymous posted yesterday that they were able to hack and breach the Russia Central Bank. And they announced on their Twitter page that they will be posting within the next 48 hours 35,000 documents that will provide details on what they call secret agreements. They didn't really give any other hints other than that, but it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that and what other things come from it. Earlier this week, also, the White House, President Biden issued a statement and I'm going to share a list here of what they provided, but essentially their concerns are that a stalemate over with the conflict in Ukraine could lead to Russia shifting their focus to retaliate against the West for their sanctions. So warnings to be vigilant, to be prepared, protect your businesses now, and hopefully nothing comes of it, but there's growing concern by the FBI, the White House, and other organizations. The United Kingdom, their organization announced something similar the day after the White House. So I'm going to share my screen here. All right, so hopefully you guys can see this on your screens. If you're watching on a mobile device or tablet, hopefully it comes across well. If not, I'll post it in the comments below so you guys can see it. But this is details from the announcement from the White House earlier this week. And so, they've been collecting evidence that Russia might be planning some potential cyber attacks against the West in retaliation. And so they, Cybersecurity Defense of the country, came up with this list, which the White House shared. So step one, they're suggesting mandating the use of MFA, multi-factor authentication. We've talked about that on past videos. I'm not going to go into details on here, but essentially it's a code having a second factor or a multi-factor authentication to log into your accounts. Recommend setting that up. We've done videos on it in the past. If you have any questions on it, please let me know. Step two, they're saying deploy modern security tools. This isn't just your basic antivirus program, right? You need modern, next generation security tools protecting your systems. Number three, ensure that systems are protected. Now they're talking about patching, right? And that's my tip for the day we're going to go into here in a few minutes. But they're saying make sure your systems are updated and protected, that any known vulnerabilities are patched, because those known vulnerabilities is typically how those hackers gain access and spread within a network. Step four, back up your data. We talked about that a few weeks ago as well on these calls. Make sure your data is backed up. It's that 3-2-1, right? Make sure your data is in 3 places. There's in 2 locations and one of them's offsite. So step 5, run exercises. So I just yesterday was talking with a company about their cybersecurity and plans that they're making. And one of the big things we talked about is running exercises, right? Doing a walkthrough, right? If you have a disaster recovery plan or a cyber response plan for your business, great. Well, it's not going to do you much good sitting on a shelf if you're in your team are not familiar with it, right? So go through it, pick a scenario, say, well, what happens if, right? And then next Friday, we're gonna test it, right? We just got hit with a ransomware attack. What do we do? Who do we notify? Who do we call? And go through it, make sure everybody's familiar with it, so that, worst case, something does happen, you've got the experience in dealing with it. Step 6, encrypt data. If you have mobile devices with company data, or patient information, if you're a healthcare provider or anything like that, you really need to make sure that that device is encrypted so that if it is lost or stolen, nobody can use that data. Step 7, educate employees. There's various studies that show anywhere from 85 to 95% of breaches happen from an employee doing something. So make sure your employees are trained to recognize stuff. And step 8, engage with local resources. Don't wait until a disaster strikes before you have a local vendor, a local resource that you can turn to assist you in dealing with the aftermath for that. So that's what the White House briefing room provided. Wanted to share that with you. I'll post the image in the comments below so you guys can have that as well. All right. So my tip for the day, which was on that list from the White House, is updating your computers and systems, right? And this isn't just, running Windows Update or the Apple Update. This is also, making sure whatever programs are installed. If you've got Adobe Acrobat, make sure that it's installed the latest version, the latest updates. If you've got Java, there are frequent updates to Java that can be exploited from known vulnerabilities if it's not updated. And so make sure those are updated. There are vulnerability scanning tools. We use a lot of these tools when we come in and do security assessments for clients and for prospective clients to help them be aware of all of their vulnerabilities, right? Not just the Windows and Apple operating system ones, but all of them, right? Any program that's running on that computer has a potential vulnerability and needs to be updated. So that's our tip for the day. Make sure you're looking at that. Make sure you're aware of it. There are tools out there if you're interested in learning more about any of those specific tools. I love talking about these things in cybersecurity. So feel free to post in the comments or send me a message and we'll get back to you on those things. One other thing before we get to questions, we are going to be doing a webinar. With everything going on, we decided not to wait an entire month. So we had one last week. Normally we do them once a month. We're not going to wait a full month. Our next webinar is going to be on April 7th. It's a Thursday. We always do Thursdays. It's going to be at 1:00 p.m. Pacific time. And we're going to be talking about keeping your business safe from cyber conflict. So some of the stuff that we've been talking about on these little live streams over the past few weeks, but we're going to go into a little bit more detail on that, on specific steps that you can do, tools that can be used, etc., to make sure that your business is protected from cyber conflict in the world that we're in today. So we are going to talk on that webinar a little bit more about Russia and Ukraine, but we're going to talk about specific examples of what's going on and how that could then trickle over into your business. So I'm posted in the comments a link to that. So let's see here, I'll send that right now. So there's a link to the registration. So register, we'd love to see you on that webinar. Let's see here, do we have any comments, any questions that people have posted here? Let's see. One that somebody sent me earlier, any new information on Conti? There's not a whole lot of information on Conti that's been shared. They have been going through more of their logs and stuff. One of the interesting things that I found is people now know what a typical hacker that works for Conti makes, right? So some of the logs and stuff that were released, the chat logs and everything else, there was some HR chats. So Conti is run just like, very, very much like your business and my business, right? There's an HR department, there's an operations department, there's management, there's leadership, there's different benefits that they offer. They run their criminal organization just like a business, and their goal is to make money, right? And they do that by inflicting other businesses with ransomware and other malicious things that they do. So it came out that the average employee over there, this is average, so obviously the higher ups are probably making much more, but they're based in Russia, and the average makes $1,800 or so a month. And here in the US, you may look at that $1,800 a month and say, wow, that doesn't seem like a lot. Well, that's a lot for over there. Their average average salary of a Russian is around $500 a month. So they're doing all right over there. Obviously, the higher ups are probably making much higher. But I thought that was kind of interesting to come out of everything that was released about Conti that I went through in this last week. So I don't see any other questions on here. Thanks for joining me. Those that are watching live, anybody that's watching it after the fact, thanks for watching after the fact. I know you guys have a lot that you could be spending your time doing. So appreciate that. Please post any questions, comments in here. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you again next Friday.